Thanks a lot for staying with us. Now, actor Richa Chaddha created a rather ugly controversy on social media today with a tweet on Galwan clash. In response to a tweet that mentioned the statement of a senior Indian Army personnel that the Indian Army is ready to take back Pakistan-occupied Kashmir on the orders of the Indian government, Richa Chaddha made a rather insensitive, mocking reference to Galwan, saying, and I quote, "Galwan says hi." This tweet has drawn fire both on and off social media. Politicians, army veterans, fellow celebrities have all called it distasteful and insulting. Filmmaker Ashon Pandit, in fact, has even filed a complaint against the actor with the Juhu police station in Mumbai. Another complaint has also been filed by a political worker and lawyer in Delhi. Now, first, the actor deleted her tweet and suggested she's going off the platform at least temporarily. But given the response, the sheer response, and one tone of response that was coming to her statement, she was forced to later apologize. She wrote that offending anyone was not her intention, and the 3 words that she has written that have been dragged into this controversy, she didn't mean it. She even added that her grandfather was a lieutenant colonel who took a bullet in the leg in the Indo-China war, so army is in her blood. Frankly, it is even more shocking that despite army ancestors, Richa Chaddha chose to mock the Indian army. That and more we will take to our guests in just a bit, and also how celebrities often use social media platforms to voice their opinion, are very, very vocal on issues, criticize others, but quietly issue half-baked apologies and scoot when it comes to themselves. Is this not an entitled and frivolous mindset? We'll debate that in just a bit.
When our chief of the army says something, we respect that. It's unfortunate that someone for posting something on the social media decides to mock the army.
फिल्म जगत की अभिनेत्री सुर्खियों में आने के लिए, ओछी पब्लिसिटी पाने के लिए क्या वो हमारे फौजी भाइयों का अपमान करेगी?
Very apt comments he has put up that still a large part of our land of Galwan is under possession of China. So she is very appropriate, a kind of satire she made.
Lieutenant General Raj Kadian, former Deputy Chief of the Indian Army, Major Tanul Singhal, who's actually Colonel Santosh Babu's course mate. Our viewers would remember Colonel Santosh Babu was the commanding officer of the Bihar Regiment, and he, along with 19 other soldiers of the Indian Army, gave their life in that standoff with the Chinese troops. Manvi Taneja is an actress also joining us on the show. I thank you all for your time. Major Tanul, I'm coming to you first up. I remember speaking to you post the Galwan clash and the martyrdom of Colonel Santosh Babu and 19 others, and the impact it had on the nation. What did you think of the tweet that Richa Chaddha made today? How did that make you feel, given that you've spent considerable time and years with one of the martyrs of the Galwan clash being Santosh Babu?
I'm not sure what Richa has, apologized for. If army was in her blood, I would say the tweet made by her was out of sheer ignorance and stupidity. And there's an idiom, they say fish is caught when it opens the mouth. So the ignorance is on full display. I think it's an insult to the martyrdom of all the soldiers, officers who have laid down their life, protecting our frontiers. It is not done. So something that you're using the social platform and making such a remark, you cannot just get away with by deleting the tweet. You need to be told that it is not what it is, and it was a shameless dig, on the statement made by a very senior army commander, and she shouldn't have done it. If her intent was okay, after POK we will take on the Chinese, incursions also, then fine. You have to make the statement like that, but you cannot make the dig and get away with it like this so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that you're commenting on a senior army commander in itself is actually quite appalling. I mean, I'm not saying you should not express your views, Manvi. Of course, all of us are citizens of this country. We have opinions on what is going on in our country, even what is happening as far as our defense forces are concerned. And certainly we are political beings, we'll have political opinions. But who are you to comment on how ready the Indian army is to take on its challenges? Yes, Galwan was a challenge. You should be sympathetic to India's defense challenges and not mock them. And yes, POK is a stated objective, not just of just this current government, which clearly Richa Chaddha doesn't seem to like, but it's a stated objective to take POK back. And the army is always ready to follow the orders. I'm not understanding where this entitlement comes from that Richa Chaddha believes that she could be so sarcastic and insulting to our armed forces.
See, I really don't understand why everyone and in the debates also people are giving so much importance to Richa Chaddha's tweet. We are living in a democratic country, and we have discussed it before also many times in the debate that yes, we all have right to freedom of expression, and it totally depends upon an individual how an individual wants to express, and especially on a social media platform. And moreover, she has apologized for what she has tweeted. And she said that she never meant to hurt anyone's feeling and sentiment. And she also comes from an army background. But you see, Gujarat and MCD elections in Delhi are approaching next month. And the BJP tends to highlight certain areas. And Bollywood.
What does the BJP have to do with this? Why are you looking at it from a political prism? I am incensed. Have you seen the response of our Indian Army veterans? I've got 2 veterans on the show. This has nothing to do with politics. Precisely the point I'm making. You may have your politics. She clearly is a critic of the Modi government. But there's a better way to express yourself.
No, because Bollywood has always been a soft target for BJP. Because when you see earlier also, in the past, BJP have stretched a lot in the case of Kashmir files, and now Kerala story is also in the queue.
What does that have to do with this? BJP didn't ask him to tweet. Come on. Is she not an adult who's responsible for her behavior? Why are you actually painting her as a victim here?
She is not being trolled for the first time.
So what?
There have been multiple times she has been trolled, and see, our economy is very bad, and people, they don't have jobs, they are unemployed. So their section of society has been hired, and they've been paid a lot to retweet and troll the actors and celebrities like this.
Okay, so you're saying all of the problems in the country are responsible for what Richa Chaddha says? And the tone and the manner in which she says, she's not responsible for her behavior. We should take responsibility for what she says on Twitter.
If you see the wider picture, if you see the tweet properly, now she has deleted, of course. She never wanted to make a statement on Indian Army. In fact, it was a question.
We don't know that.
Regarding. No, let me just complete it. In fact, she wanted to make a question to our government regarding
So say that,
people and opposition. No, listen, people and opposition, they want to know about Galwan. Why government is quiet?
So madam, say that. Say that.
So
if she had said that before POK operation, please let us know what happened in Galwan, I don't think the response would have been the same. Say it. No, I'm sure articulation is not an issue for Richa Chaddha.
I can go and ask her to modify the tweet.
No,
whatever she thought.
I am saying please don't put, once again, please don't put conditions of what she wanted to say and didn't want to say on her tweet. We can only judge her tweet for what it was. Your interpretation and my interpretation is completely different. But let me bring in Lieutenant General Raj Kadian. I am just shocked that people in India, they want to mock the challenges of the Indian Army. What kind of, even if you hate the present government, even if you feel what happened in Galwan was wrong or that the Indian government has much to answer for, how is this an appropriate response? And if this was appropriate, why did she delete it?
3 brief points. First, her remark obviously is insulting to the martyrdom of the 20 brave hearts who laid down their lives in 2020. They were not there for a picnic. They were there to ensure that people like Richa Chaddha and all of us can sleep peacefully and can carry on with our profession, which Richa is continuing. So, seen in that light, her remark is derogatory, most unfortunate, irresponsible, and was totally avoidable. Second connotation of her remark, which is even more serious in my view, she said so in response to a statement by the Northern Army Commander General Dwivedi that we are ready to capture POK once the government gives a nod. So she was trying to mock his remarks coming from a very senior, very responsible army officer who should know what he is doing and what he is saying. So to that extent, it was even very, very irresponsible on part of Richa.
Yeah.
Third, I want to draw our attention. Yesterday, General Bajwa, the retiring army chief of our neighboring country, had made a statement when he was addressing a group. He said in Pakistan, people criticize the army. And in India, and I quote, nobody criticizes the army. For once, General Bajwa has spoken the truth. In India, people respect the army. Richa Chaddha should have known that she is going to run into a very strong storm. She has been very rightly pilloried for her remarks. She has apologized. She has even invoked the name of her grandfather who had a connection with the defense forces. So all that having been said, I think let's move on. What she has said, I don't think her brain was connected to her fingers when she was punching the buttons.
No, that's exactly the issue I want to come to. Major General, Lieutenant General, that's exactly the issue I want to come to. Yes, individuals make mistakes. Let's say she accepted her mistake and we all should move on. Obviously, we don't want her to be hounded anymore. But on her apology itself, Major Tanul, I'm coming to you. Even though it can never be my intention in the least, if the three words which are being dragged into a controversy have offended or hurt anyone, I mean, it almost makes it sound like we are the ones who are making it a controversy. There was nothing wrong with what I said. I'm sorry to say, either you stand by your words or don't dish out half-baked apologies. And don't drag in the name of your Nanaji, because what your Nanaji did is his legacy. Him being an army officer doesn't give you some license to say what you want to say on the army.
Absolutely. Shivani, I totally agree to what you have said. And, you know, those remarks were not, they were clearly a dig, and she made the mockery of the statement made by the Northern Army commander in response to the call made by the defense minister to take back the lands we lost to Pakistan, right? And that mockery, if issues about Galwan or any incursions from the Chinese side, she would have said so. Sir, we are with you in your objective towards getting back our land from Pakistan. We stand by your side. If need be, we'll come to your side. And when you have done, when you are successful in that objective, we'll move on to the next one. We'll move on to the lands we lost to China. We'll get back from them. That should be the intent. That should be the right way of spreading the feelings that she had. But this is clearly trying to make the mockery of the entire thing and demoralizing the troops.
Well, I don't think the moral of our troops will be affected by what Richa Chadha says. But, Manvi, I want to come to you. This is particularly becoming some endemic issue in our celebrities. First of all, as a nation, I think we've matured enough to understand that athletes and actors, they are also political beings. They have opinions on what's happening in the country. And increasingly, I feel over the last 10 years, they've begun to voice their opinion. Earlier, it used to be very unheard of. We've all graduated and matured to understand that ultimately we all have our preferences and there's nothing wrong with that. You can fight and bicker about politics. But do you believe in the penchant to express their political ideology? Sometimes celebrities don't understand that not liking the current dispensation should never descend into not liking India and India's institutions. There should be a line drawn, Manvi.
I totally agree with you. Yes, a line should be drawn, and celebrities should think before they tweet. But again, I would like to say that she might not be aware that people will seriously, as in it will, the tweet will hurt people's sentiment, because see, the soldiers, they have done a lot for us, for society, and we owe our lives to these soldiers. But again, I would like to come to that point. She was not saying something to Indian Army. In fact, it was a question to the government regarding
No, it
Galwan,
wasn't.
people want to know about Galwan.
No, Manvi, it
Government
wasn't
never
a
speak about
question to the
Galwan.
government.
And see,
I'll
again,
tell you
you're
what.
not letting me
I'll tell you
speak
what.
on this,
I don't know what her intention
nobody wants
was.
to
Nobody
discuss.
knows. But it
So that's
wasn't.
why a
No, once again,
celebration.
Manvi, it wasn't a question to the government. I'll tell you why. Because she wasn't responding to a political leader. She quote tweeted the tweet which had the statement of an Indian Army officer. If she doesn't have the sense of how her tweet is going to be seen when you're responding to an army officer's statement, then God help her.
Army is also controlled by the government only, right? Army cannot go ahead without a government.
That's what the army officer said. What is the problem with that?
Exactly. So everybody wants to know about the Galwan thing. That
So say that, no, ask that. What does Galwan says hi mean? Especially in the context of the Indian Army taking back POK. I'll tell you what it means. It means that you got hammered in Galwan. What are you talking about taking on POK? Am I right, Lieutenant General Raj Kadyan?
No. I don't
That's the universal feeling of what she said. I don't think so many people can be wrong. And I have not heard a single person who's come out with an alternative theory of what she meant. I'm sorry to say. But Lieutenant General Raj Kadyan, final minute, please.
Army commanders do not make such statements off the cuff or an irresponsible statement. He knows what he's talking about. There is a parliamentary resolution of 1994 which clearly says that POK belongs to us. So it is a question of time before we take POK. Army commander hasn't said anything more than that. He only says that as an army, Northern Army and the Indian Army is ready to take on POK, provided the government gives a note. It's very much in line with our national policy. Richa Chaddha had no business to kind of mock that statement and send that Galwan statement in relation to it. So it was highly irresponsible. Let's leave the Army commander's statement. Army commander is the responsible. He got enough service. He knows what he's saying. Let us focus on what irresponsible statement by Richa Chaddha and others who may be thinking of using the keyboard for these purposes. Please learn a lesson. You are flowing against the national sentiment. It is our army. It is totally apolitical. They were there because they have been given a task, a very difficult task under very adverse conditions. They laid down their lives.
Absolutely.
We have respected them. We honor them. So don't say anything that could hurt the sentiments of their families or to the country. I hope Richa Chadha and others have the lesson, and such remarks will not be repeated.
You know, can I just say, I'll give a final 30 seconds to Major Tanul. What I am also discussing is that it has almost become a habit that people say things that are offensive, that are clearly offensive. Like if you just took 10 seconds before you send out that tweet and think about how people will react to it, you will realize whether it is offensive or not. It is not that thin a line. But let's say you make those tweets deliberately and then you retract them or just issue a half-baked apology. This has become an epidemic. Should there be greater costs involved? Punishments involved, especially when it comes to
we
this?
cannot end up, hounding or trolling, for the statement or the tweet that was made by her. But, sooner the better that she realizes that she has done grossly wrong to the families, to the
Think
the
about the
soldiers who have laid
families,
down
the
their
martyrs,
lives.
and especially if you've had an army person in your family. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. I just want to say two things. Once you are on social media, you put out something that is offensive or has hurt people, there will be a response. Learn to take it, right? It's not going to be an isolation for you on social media. That's the name of the game. Secondly, if tomorrow then people say we're going to boycott your work, don't wonder where that boycott calls are coming from when you offend people and their sentiments, because they also then have the right to issue those calls. I will leave this discussion on that note and a thanks to our guests, but I